On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, Mizzou football is 4-0 after a win over Memphis this Saturday. We'll cut to Peyton and Jack on Saturday, breaking all of that down, and then we'll go to Peyton and Jack again on Friday, talking some Mizzou men's hoops recruiting with some big news after Annor Boateng committed, and Dennis Gates now is literally the best recruiting class in the country, according to 247 Sports. We'll do some quick hits and finish with our Week 4 SEC tier list. I've always wanted to say this part. The Unwritten Rule starts right.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule, and once again, depending on when you're listening to this, it is either Monday, September 25th, and we have some NFL to digest, or it's Saturday or Sunday, because we're dropping this portion of the show on Saturday night for everybody. What'd you say?
It's going to be Sunday. It's 11 at night.
Oh, yeah, I guess it'll be Sunday by the time I drop it. I can't edit like a magician. But so it's Sunday, September 24th, for at least this portion of the show, because we have our Mizzou reactions. Mizzou football has secured a 34-27 win over Memphis in St. Louis in a game, Peyton, that I think fans can look at one of two ways, just diving right into it. On the one hand, Missouri, over 500 yards of offense. Brady Cook had yet another phenomenal game despite carrying that knee injury into it. Luther Burden continues to prove why he's one of the best players in the country, and the defense forced multiple turnovers. Good stuff on paper. Or you can look at it in, that this maybe is a margin of victory that could have been higher. The Tigers went 0 for 8 on third down. Luther Burden included a couple players dealing with some injuries, and, defense did get some turnovers, but maybe surrendered some, questionable plays to a Memphis team that I think, again, given those offensive stats I just mentioned, you could have maybe expected a bigger margin of victory, a higher score line in favor of Mizzou. So before we dive into those particulars, Peyton, what is the way, I guess, that you see tonight's game here as Mizzou improves to 4-0?
I do look at it as 7 points was not really what Mizzou won by. They really should have won this game by 21 points. But I don't look at that as a negative. I look at that as a big positive because Mizzou was far and away the better team than Memphis for almost the entire game. They just had a few dumb moments, a couple things working against them.
We're going to get back to the Mizzou-Memphis recap in just a minute, but first, quick word from our sponsor, Bet Online. Football is back, and Bet Online is your number one information source for all your sports wagering info with all the up-to-minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns. Get the latest game odds, spreads, and totals from the NFL and college football right at your fingertips with Bet Online's real-time updates on statistics, news, and odds. From Week 1 all the way to the college football playoff and Super Bowl, Bet Online gives you access to the best football promotions and contests available anywhere online. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. And now back to the Mizzou-Memphis recap.
The main thing I would be concerned with a bit is the health of the team exiting. I mean, Luther Burden wound up being fine. He finished the game. Nobody seemed concerned about him. He just cramped. Chris Abrams-Drain was just cramping a bit, so he's probably fine. The ones I would be concerned about are Darius Robinson, who had a calf injury that Drinkwitz said has been nagging him, and they may need to get him some rest. So they could be without him against Vandy next week, potentially. Ennis Rakestraw, we had no idea he was going to be out. He didn't play tonight. Drinkwitz said it was injury-related. People didn't know that. He was suited up, so maybe just pulled something. You hope that's minor. Since he was suited up, I would assume it's probably not serious, but you really don't know. Norfleet got hurt in practice this week. Just a lot of injuries. And Drayden Norwood, who was playing great in the first half, he sprained his ankle.
Yeah.
So you don't know what's going to happen with him. Those heal very strangely. It could be anything from 2 days to 2 weeks to 2 months before his ankle's 100%. It's just such a weird injury. But in spite of all that, Mizzou really, I mean, they had the ball. They had a 4th and 1 on Memphis' side of the field with a chance to, I mean, if they completed that drive with a touchdown, they go up 21 in the third quarter there. And Drinkwitz correctly rolled the dice and went for it on 4th down. It was the wrong read, I think, for Cook. He should have probably, I don't know if it was an RPO. I mean, Stevens was open, but you should have just handed that off to Schrader. And even though he was open, I mean, the Memphis defender got in Cook's face. Cook couldn't complete it. That had a big momentum swing that Mizzou ultimately had to kind of battle against. But, I mean, yes, the game a few times was you got a little anxious, I would think, but Mizzou showed that it was the better team for almost the entire night. They left no doubt once the defense got off the field on 4th down and goal. That was like with about 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And they drove down the field and they capped it off with a touchdown. So ultimately, I was more encouraged by Mizzou than I was discouraged.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, and I think the key 2 words you said there was no doubt. In my mind, when I was watching this game, I didn't get the usual feeling in the pit of my stomach that I get in games like this sometimes with Missouri in years past, at least. I kind of always felt that no matter the defensive miscue on occasion, or when Memphis was able to drive and complete, albeit I do have to give a quick credit to Seth Hannigan. He had some nice passes in this game to his receivers.
Later on,
yeah. But when Memphis would drive or make the occasional good play, I never got the feeling that Missouri was going to surrender this game, and it all starts at the very beginning. I think that's where I want to go to first. Begin from the beginning. In addition to the wild onside kick attempt that we saw from Memphis, which was awesome, he tried to Pat McAfee all of us with recovering his own onside kick in the opening kickoff. Unfortunate that they were offsides. But again, Peyton, Missouri begins a game with another booming play. This one ended up being, the longest they had in the season, with a 76-yard bomb from Brady Cook to Marquise Johnson, who we saw him get his first career catch against K-State. That was a pretty explosive play. And now he again proves he can be kind of a weapon as a true freshman, just completely beating the coverage and being wide open to, again, start Missouri's game off with a bang, something we're not, I guess, starting to get used to under Kirby Moore's offense. And then, Brady Cook, again, going on to look awesome, 341 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ran just a little bit. I think we correctly predicted that would be a little bit more limited, coming into this game, given the knee stuff. And we were texting back and forth, I know you and I, about, the kid's got to learn how to slide. I mean, he took a couple hits. One of them, wasn't all the way his fault. The guy tackled from behind, knee hit the ground. Unfortunate, when you're trying to make that extra effort. But yeah, I think you're right in that assessment overall, that, they start again with a bang, and they, on both ends of the ball, were just able to kind of keep control in the game, was kind of the summary I think I brought. And you can turn to whatever specifics you like, but that I think was my feeling this entire game.
Yeah, definitely a flip switched for Brady Cook, it feels like last week. He's
switch flipped?
Yeah, switch flipped, rather. Did I say flip switched?
Yeah,
whoopsie.
That's okay. I got called out in the comments for saying overstating instead of understating. So thank you to whoever said that, because now I'll think about that going forward.
But
yeah, anyway.
No, Brady Cook, obviously, I mean, he's looked like a completely different player the last couple weeks. Just fully confident. The offense, clearly, I mean, Kirby Moore trusts him. There was one play in particular that I was like, there's a lot of growth here. It was when it was before Mizzou's touchdown run with Nate Pete. The play before that, there was a 20-yard completion to Luther Burden. On that play, it was designed to have, hopefully, the wheel route, Nate Pete, wheeled out to the left sideline. Cook looked there, it wasn't there, and instead of panicking, he just calmly, coolly, quickly flipped the ball back out to the other sideline. Luther Burden makes magic happen because he's just the greatest player ever. Picks up 20 yards, gets down to the 1, ends in a Mizzou touchdown. Just he looks so much more comfortable in the offense, really does have full command. You do hear coaches say that stuff a lot, but it is true with Brady Cook. It's very clear at this point. I would say the offense in general was pretty good. There were a few penalties that were annoying. I actually was really impressed with the offensive line in the second half. The run game was not there in the first half, but it came around in the second half and really was kind of the reason Mizzou was able to ice the game. And they largely held up in that second half. Cook got sacked once, I remember, but he kind of just danced around into it. There were very few blown blocks on the run plays, especially when they really needed to ice the game. They were absolutely perfect. I mean, Nate Pete had a few just wide open holes, and obviously Cody Schrader, who sometimes isn't the most explosive. I mean, he was able to rip off that 22-yard touchdown at the end of the game.
Yeah, that you make a good point too. That was my main thing I wanted to see improvement on heading into this game from Kansas State, which has a very good run defense. I wanted to see that running game unleashed, and it did take a while for that to happen, but I knew that, I think we all knew that that was going to be how they were going to balance out, Cook kind of only really being able to use his arm in this game with the injury. And we did see that eventually from Pete and Schrader. I mean, Cody Schrader, 123 yards and a touchdown. Nate Pete, 65 yards and a touchdown. They stepped up when necessary, especially later on in this game. And I think also you're right. That owes, a lot of credit to this offensive line. And yeah, I think an improved game overall from them. We got an EJ Ndoma Ogar play too, which I know you were in addition to Brett Norfleet, we're an EJ Ndoma Ogar podcast, but staying on the offense a little bit more, you said it. And I mean, this is the man we're just going to have to keep talking about every single week. He is the best player ever. Luther Burden, once again, spectacular. 10 catches, 117 yards, didn't get in the end zone. That, he had 100 yards, I think, like midway through the second quarter. Went out for a little bit. We learned it was cramping. I think Drinkwitz said he just needed to go get an IV in the locker room before he came back. But I mean, like, we don't have to talk too long, or we can. I mean, it's just, you're beating a dead horse at this point with just the way this guy plays. He is not just one of the best receivers in the SEC. He is one of the best players in the country. I think it's pretty safe to say that.
Yeah, it's really nice to see Mizzou, the first 5-star they'd gotten since Dorial Green Beckham, I believe. I don't believe Terry Beckner was a 5-star. I could be wrong about that. But
I trust you.
I mean, Luther Burden, to get him in the fold and have him be as productive as he is, there is no doubt that this guy is the best player Mizzou has had come through the program in a minute. That just so obscenely talented when he gets the ball in his hands, just bounces off of tacklers. It's something to behold. He has emerged almost seamlessly as the number one threat that Mizzou needed after Dominic Lovett left. There's really not much else to say about him anymore. He is great. It's good he didn't get the ball a whole ton after he came back out of injury. He just got one screen pass, and he did recover the onside. But, by the time he came back, it was mostly a let's run the clock out time anyways. So, overall, got to be happy. He put on a show in front of his home city. So, very good.
I'm also reaching the point with commentators and him now where the comparison to Deebo Samuel has become the Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw quote, where they just, everyone just compares him to Deebo, which is a fair and accurate one, but I just hear it every single week now. So I'm adding that in the file of repeated, little announcer quips. But yeah, he was great. I like what Cook was doing, spreading it out a little bit. The next highest receiver was Marquise Johnson, who only had the one catch for 76 yards. But, I thought Mookie Cooper was solid at times, 3 catches, 53 yards. Theo Weiss, you look at the final stats, he only had 29 yards, but I felt his impact was a little bit more than that, at least to me. I thought he came up pretty big, especially when Luther Burden went to go get that IV. They were talking about it in the game a little bit about this is, why they recruited him to kind of play that like X position and take away some of the pressure off of Burden to, or some of the attention off of him, I guess to say that. But I thought the wide receivers in general were really good today. And yeah, when you have a guy like Burden to throw to, it makes Brady Cook's job, especially carrying that injury, a whole lot easier. Let's turn to the defense now. I want to start in the secondary, Peyton, because this is a secondary. We talked about it right at the beginning. This team in general is pretty banged up, and this is a secondary that started this game a little surprisingly without Ennis Rakestraw, who I believe we learned after, correct me if I'm wrong, was injured, and that was why he did not play tonight. I think Drinkwitz confirmed that, so must have picked something up either, maybe late in practice or maybe even just in the warmups, which is unfortunate. But this was a defense and a secondary in particular where another guy who we expect to be showing up, as the season goes on more and more, did tonight. Chris Abrams drained 7 tackles, and he had another pick as well, in addition to a Marcus Clark interception. So that's 2 turnovers forced by this secondary, Peyton. What impressed you about them and maybe even the rest of the defensive unit performing again, kind of shorthanded at the cornerback spot?
Yeah, it was a weird game for the defense. They did not do well on 4th downs at all.
Yeah.
They were pretty bad on 4th down, outside of the Marcus Clark interception. There were some funky play calls. I remember a 3rd and 18. Blake Baker brought the house. I mean, just brought like 7 rushers. So just a bit of a funky, weird day for the defense. They still, I know the 3rd down numbers look better, but when you pair that with the 4th down numbers, I mean, they still have a lot of moments where they just can't get off the field. Just rather inopportune times, really. And like you said, they were shorthanded for a lot of it. They lost Darius Robinson almost immediately. I believe Drinkwitz said they came into the game with only 3 healthy scholarship corners, and that was Clark, Cad, and Drayden Norwood, and then Norwood got hurt. So I believe it was, they were moving like Carly's up to corner for a little. It was a challenging game, and I really, really hope Drayden Norwood and Ennis can get back healthy quickly. They're gonna need it. But overall, I mean, it was better. They got bigger stops when they needed them. They got that interception down in the red zone from Marcus Clark. They got off the field on a 3rd and goal, where Memphis had to settle for a field goal, and Mizzou answered with a field goal, I believe. Or no, that was when they responded with a touchdown, actually. So it was fine. And they forced 2 turnovers. I think that was the main difference. And Mizzou really should have been able to capitalize off of the Chris Abrams drain one. That was kind of the momentum flipper where they didn't get that 4th down. Memphis goes down and scores. So I'm hoping to see just a little more from the defense. Hopefully Chad Bailey getting healthier will help fix that. As long as Ennis Rakestraw gets back healthy quickly, it should be fine. But overall, it was fine. I did not think they were the best unit today, but I thought they were fine.
Yeah. I think weird is a good way to describe it too, and that kind of ran through the team a little bit. The other 2 leading tacklers in this game were Tyron Hopper and Johnny Walker Jr., which you had some text while we were, chatting like during this game about both of these guys that sort of humbles kind of their performances. Cause I thought Johnny Walker Jr. had his moments today, but I know you texted that he started the game pretty rough. And then can you share your Tyron Hopper stat that you learned?
Oh, that wasn't a real stat. I just said it felt like Tyron Hopper kind of has missed
I was like
a lot of tackles.
Okay. That felt like a fake stat. I was like, because he does miss the occasional tackle for all the good plays that he makes.
Yeah, and I said it just after a punt return, which I don't even know why he's on the punt return team.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Tyron Hopper flies to the ball so fast. He's gonna occasionally miss one, but it did feel like I just noticed, like, gosh, he just missed that punt return tackle, and I don't really know why he's even out there, but it happens. Johnny Walker, I mean, he wound up finishing the game very, very strong, and he got to the quarterback. He's been the best pass rusher on the team he did have a couple moments there. I remember he was one-on-one on a check down with Blake Watson, and Watson juked him out of his ankles.
Yeah.
Just straight blew right past him. But overall, Johnny Walker was good. He just had a bad start to the game. He had that pass interference penalty that was a little ticky-tacky upon further review, but he's wound up being probably the best pass rusher on the team so far.
Yeah. The other, I'm just, thinking on the fly too. The other two things that I think will frustrate a lot of Mizzou fans that we can touch on quickly. How many times, Peyton, are you going to see a team win a game, period, when they go literally 0 for on third down? I mean, that's got to be something that can't happen, against some of these better SEC teams as you start conference play now. And then the other thing we talked about a bit was the decisions on these kickoffs to try and return some of these that hurt Mizzou greatly, especially at the beginning of the game. One of them led to the Cody Schrader fumble, but just overall, harming them for field position. I mean, those two things certainly are a little bit red flaggy, I guess, when you look forward to, playing some of these better teams that are going to punish you when you have those kind of stats.
Yeah, and luckily you can get away with it. If you're going to burn it on a game, you might as well burn it on Memphis before you get to SEC play. But overall, I wouldn't be too worried about the 0 for 8 on third downs because it feels a bit fluky for one, because Mizzou is so good on first and second downs, or at least they have been the last 2 weeks. It feels almost random, the struggles on third down. Just got to iron some of that out, and I wouldn't be concerned long term about that. The one thing about the kickoffs I can return, kickoff returns I can say, is that they did fix that later in the game. They started to fair catch it more. But good God, I mean, I have talked to death about my disdain for how the special teams have been the last 4 years. That's just another example of how annoying it was. It was just, tell your returners to stop taking it out. Just tell them to
Every
fair
time.
catch it. And they did. There's really almost no reason to ever return the kick.
Yeah.
And they stopped doing it later in the game, and Mizzou was able to drive down the field later in the game. So it was something that got ironed out. The 0 for 8 on third down. I mean, it's just so many weird things added up to where it was only a 7-point win, even though this really should have been 20 points plus.
Yeah.
The one in particular at the end of the half where they just kind of, I hated the second down call with the speed option pitch out. That was a bad play call.
Yeah.
And then on third down, Brady Cook made the right decision on that third down to just chuck the ball out of the back of the end zone. But you'd like to see some of that situational stuff get cleaned up. And I'm somewhat confident it will be ironed out as the season goes further and further in. But yeah, the kickoff returns, just fair catch it every time. No point. No point.
You don't have Cordero Patterson back there.
Yeah.
Need to fair catch those. I know Luther's good at punt returning, but let's just set up at the 25 where you don't have to struggle for field position to start out drives. And okay, so I like that take about the third downs, because it is sort of just a weird game to digest, but I think in the end, Mizzou fans, what they can turn to 4-0 for the first time since 2013 was what they showed. So
and they went 12-2 and went to the SEC title game that year.
They did. I don't think I'm going to predict the same outcome for 2023. But anything can happen. Stranger things have happened, I guess. But yeah, I think overall, pretty solid game. You escaped there with some nervy moments, especially with the injuries. But yeah, I really wanted Mevis to recover that onside kick. I was so excited to tweet the Pat McAfee gif from Unwritten, but
I mean, that was just, again, the special teams are just hilarious under the last 4 years. You do the math on what could be the common denominator for that.
Yeah. So I'm looking a little ahead now to at least Monday. I mean, in your eyes, is this team ranked now headed into Vanderbilt?
Definitely. I mean, they were 27 coming into today. UCLA lost, Iowa lost. They'll be ranked 100%. They should be ranked. The last time Mizzou was ranked and then played Vanderbilt on the road the next week, they lost. They had Kelly Bryant. It was just a nightmare day. And you never really know how you're going to respond to your first game on the road. Vandy is a lousy team this year, no doubt. They have really shocked me. I thought they were going to be better than they've shown, but I would not be shocked to see Mizzou be a double-digit favorite down there. Just got to handle your business, and then LSU comes to town.
They are playing on a construction site, so
correct.
Anything can go awry there. The scoreboard literally hangs off of cranes. So yeah, definitely got to keep just kind of pushing. I know how badly Mizzou fans want to get to that LSU game 5-0 just because of what that would mean for some national attention, especially. I won't go any further than to say that for now.
But I was wrong. I said this in the last episode. Duke, Notre Dame was next week, not the week after.
Not in 2 weeks.
And they did get game day, but that's next week. So in 2 weeks, I really don't know who else would have it as of now, but Mizzou's got to get there. Just beat Vanderbilt. You'll be 5-0 coming home.
Probably in the teens.
Yeah, you could be. You never know.
Yeah,
but let's just see them beat Vanderbilt. I mean, at the end of the day, even in spite of 0 for 8 on third downs, you had a wacky fumble early in the game. They put up 34 points and put up 500 something yards, and they really should have put up more. So
it is nice to go ahead.
I was going to say.
I was just going to say
you'd be very enthused by this.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just nice to forget about those plays for once, right? Like it's nice to be like, oh yeah, Cody Schrader also fumbled in this game, and not, oh, remember when Cody Schrader fumbled and it cost us, a touchdown that led to them losing, and yeah,
that is a good point. I mean, last year you can point at so many different plays that had they gone Mizzou's way, you would have won. I mean, Vanderbilt had about 5 of them, like on its own, and then you get, Kentucky, that was a game where you pointed a few plays that could have gone differently. Georgia, even.
Yeah.
But this year Mizzou has found a way to close, and that can be the difference between what we saw last year, getting just 6, or maybe if Mizzou continues to close. That's an important thing. They had some adversity late there in the second half, and they didn't let it kill them. This isn't a bad Memphis team. This Memphis team, metrics-wise, grades out very well. Mizzou was only a 6.5 point favorite. They covered in this game. They found a way to close it out. They did not let anything rattle them. They just handled their game plan and came out with a win.
Took care of business.
Yep.
It took care of business. And I will add to that, I think it helps them to be able to close out when they start the game in the way that they've started the last 2, with going for a little bit of a home run play right off the bat and kind of, punching that other team in the mouth, starting things off, on a very positive note with a big play.
Yeah, and maybe when we look back at it, that Middle Tennessee State game can be spun as a bit of a positive, because they were, oh my God, there were probably Mizzou fans rooting against them.
Worst win ever.
Started to slide. It was such a bad win, but they found a way to close it out. And that is, at the end of the day, the win looks better than a loss. And that was a good thing today. They fell behind 10-7, didn't let it rattle them. They got 10 points in the second quarter going to half up. What was it? 17-10? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody Schrader, he fumbled. We didn't see him for a lot. It became the Nate Pete show for a bit, and I thought he looked good. They went back to Schrader, and he closed out the game for them. So,
yeah. And I like, when they were down 10-7 again, I was like, they're going to be all right. And that's a different mentality.
I was getting annoyed, but
I wasn't happy, but I wasn't like panicking. And I think that is a new feeling. I think a lot of Mizzou fans are probably going through with this game, with the frustrating moments. We're like, okay, but let's just see how they respond. Not, they're not, like, they're just going to keep digging a hole. They're not going to respond. I think that's a kind of new thing and a new sign for this team that fans can turn to now as the season goes on, because those moments are going to continue to pop up. But nevertheless, Missouri 34, Memphis 27. They closed the deal. Vanderbilt next week, afternoon game. It'll be a 3:00 kickoff in Nashville. First true road test for the Tigers. We'll obviously have a preview and all that stuff to dive into. Okay, I know this is not the regularly scheduled programming you gracious unwritten rule viewers and listeners are probably used to seeing. We're hopping on a Friday, but Peyton and I wanted to jump on quick because Annor Boateng, consensus or composite 5-star, number 26 recruit in the country, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, is a Missouri Tiger, and their ranking overall when it comes to the teams in the 2024 recruiting class has shot up, and we want to talk all about it. This will be in the full show on Sunday too. So if you're listening on Sunday, hello. I hope the Tigers beat Memphis on Saturday, but I don't know yet. But we wanted to post something quick on Friday, so we're going to talk all about Annor Boateng, all about where the Tigers stand in recruiting. Annor Boateng is a Missouri Tiger. We weren't expecting this. We obviously, we had the show Friday morning. We talked a little recruiting, mostly about Quaintance. We'll talk a little bit more about him. But then Dennis Gates posts the bat signal this Friday morning. We're recording here at around 2:00 now. And we found out it's Boateng, Little Rock, small forward, 6'5", 5-star, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite. I mean, Dennis being Dennis once again. And the more important headline here, obviously, is according to 24/7, the team rankings that they post. Number 3, Duke, blue blood. Number 2, North Carolina, well, blue blood, sure, a couple 5 stars. Number 1, Peyton, on that list now with landing Boateng, the Missouri Tigers. I mean, what a turnaround, what a job Dennis has done already. I mean, just dive right into it with Boateng coming in Missouri at the top of the charts, according to 24/7's class of 2024 men's hoops recruiting.
Yeah, it's year 2 for Dennis, and I mean, he had an impressive recruiting cycle last year. It was only 3 guys, but I mean, they were 2 4-stars and a high-end 3-star. And he has just blown that out of the water. Obviously, I didn't expect the Annor Boateng news today, but it had been building, and it was looking pretty apparent that Boateng, who Mizzou pretty much made an out-and-out priority for a lot of the summer, was going to be a Missouri Tiger. Just didn't expect it today. But yeah, I mean, this is big, big time. They went into Arkansas's backyard and left almost. It took them like no time. They didn't even make it to the season, and stole him out of Fayetteville. And obviously, I know he's from Little Rock, but that is obviously Arkansas territory, Woo Pig Nation. But yeah, this has been building. This is one of the 2 guys that were like left on the board that Mizzou really, really wanted. I know Bishop Boswell visited, and Chase McCarthy. I mean, he's got Mizzou in his final 6, but the 2 Mizzou really wanted were Boateng. From just the sounds of it, was Boateng and Quaintance. And Quaintance is on campus right now, and we'll see on him. But I mean, Boateng is just so big to get. I mean, like you said, composite 5-star Missouri. I mean, I said in the summer, it's like if they could get Boateng, they might have like a top 10 or so class. Dennis is not settling for top 15, top 10. I mean, they've got the number 1 class in the nation. And this isn't like one of those stop the count, flash in the pan moments. I mean, they've got Duke is probably going to get Cooper Flagg, which will probably catapult them back up to number 1. Rutgers is going to get Ron Harper more likely than not, which will catapult them up a bit. But
Do you mean the Boozer or Ron Harper? Because isn't Ron Harper there?
No, I think it's Ron Harper, but I'd have to double check. Or maybe
Another
it's a different
5-star.
Harper. Yeah, a different
Oh,
Harper.
I think it is another Harper. There are 2 of them because I think Ron Harper's there already, or was there already.
Yeah, I
for
can
Rutgers.
double check this real quick. But the point is, I mean, Mizzou is going to be throwing elbows because as good as this class already is, even if they recruit nobody else, this is a massive, massive, massive recruiting class. It's not technically the best in team history because, I mean, 2017, and it's Dylan Harper, not Ron Harper. That's my bad. But Dylan
you're good.
Harper, I do believe,
He'll be at Rutgers. Yeah.
He's expected to be a Scarlet Knight. But I mean, even if Dennis doesn't recruit anybody else, this is seismic to get up in the recruiting rankings like this. Like I said, not the best in school history technically, as of now, because in 2017 they got a pair of players known as the Porters. I don't know, maybe you've heard of them, as well as Jeremiah
Champ.
Tillman. Yeah. So that was obviously that's a all-time class. But there is a chance Mizzou could beat that. And we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I mean that is the debate to get into, which this class where it already stands as one of the best in Mizzou history, and I've got some pretty wild numbers like that. We can kind of back that up. I went through on 24/7 who that site has Mizzou the highest. Rivals, they're number 2, the Tigers, and then on 3 they're number 7, but they're number 1 in the SEC, which is obviously pretty significant with how good the conference as a whole has been getting at recruiting. But this team, Peyton, back in 2020, albeit tough with COVID and stuff, recruit, but like that team was 168th. Their only recruit at coming in as a freshman, they had a couple guys in the transfer portal, but it was Jordan Wilmore, and that was it. Back in 2020, that's not that long ago. And then obviously it's crept up a little bit since then. Last season, it was 27th with the 3 guys, the 3 4-stars they're expecting to have a pretty big impact coming in this season. But, should they land Quaintance, and maybe I'll go there next, first is that's obviously, I think, the biggest question on everyone Mizzou fans' mind is, yeah, Dennis clearly isn't settling. So it becomes the best recruit now, Peyton, is the next one. So is that kind of next? Who else are the Tigers targeting, possibly to improve this and maybe, just maybe, have this class be a step above that 2017 class with the Porters?
Yeah, I mean, the funniest thing about this class is that they might not have their best rated recruit yet, because Jayden Quaintance, he's on campus right now as we record this. He's visiting. And it sounds like Mizzou is in a pretty decent position to get him. Obviously, they're battling the G League. They're battling Ignite. They're battling Kentucky. Calipari went to see Quaintance in home the other day, which I'd never see in home visits anymore. It's like COVID killed that. But I believe it's Rob Cassidy who has a crystal ball in, or a future cast because that's on Rivals. He was the one that struck early with a future cast for Annor Boateng to Mizzou, and he has a crystal ball in for Jayden Quaintance to come to Mizzou. So Dennis Gates hasn't even played the ace up his sleeve yet. I mean, that is the craziest part of all this. Annor Boateng, even if it almost does. I don't know if maybe you've seen this or heard of these guys, but in the 90s, Michigan had a famous recruiting class going by the name of the Fab Five. And I remember watching the ESPN films about them, and they were talking about how Steve Fisher and Chris Dutcher, who's now the head coach at San Diego State, obviously, they were talking about how most schools would have settled like when they got Jawan Howard, who was like a top 5 recruit back then. And maybe a lot of schools would have settled once they got Annor Boateng. That's like, okay, we got 4 4-stars here, or 3 4-stars and a 5-star here. Let's just sit back. We're good. But Dennis Gates is not done. I mean, he's obviously McCarthy's top 6 too. And going after Quaintance. Quaintance would be the Chris Webber of this class.
Oh, I like that comp. You're comparing the 2 Block M teams too. Be careful with that.
I sure am.
Yeah.
Michigan stole it from us.
Yeah, let's make one thing clear. But I like that comparison, and it can't be understated too. What it means, like, Calipari's doing the in-home visit, but it can't be understated. You land Annor Boateng while Quaintance is on campus. Dennis Gates can literally say to him, "Hey, look at this. We got this guy coming now. How are you feeling now while you're on your visit?" So, yeah, it's absolutely huge. And you mentioned some of the others, Peyton. Let's dive into that a little bit with, taking a breath slightly from who might be next to make this class the best it can be. let's look at the guys they've brought in now, starting with Boateng, the latest, the 6'5" small forward. I'm reading a little bit from Adam Finkelstein on 24/7. But it seems like Dennis is not only just getting and doing the recruiting like everyone's leaving and just trying to land whoever he can, but he is recruiting with a purpose. He's getting these guys that are a little bit longer, like these 6'5", 6'6" wings. That's at least what Boateng and Allen are. He's recruited a bit of size with what Missouri has been lacking in years past, with a guy like Peyton Marshall coming in. Like, I've seen clips of him, and Quaintance is right there too, with just how big those two people are. And then you have Barrett, a little bit more of a guard build. But what can you tell us and refresh people maybe about the guys that they have landed in obviously running it down? Boateng now joining, Peyton Marshall, Marcus Allen, and T.O. Barrett.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Florida State Leonard Hamilton special. I mean, they're recruiting straight up athletes that are just long. Positionless basketball is absolutely a thing. I mean, the only guy really that I would think maybe would be locked into one position is Peyton Marshall. But I mean, that's just what it is sometimes. He's still a 7-foot athletic monster. So that's just what Dennis Gates has been going after for the most part. It's just straight up athletes with long wingspans. I mean, he's got a type. It's very obvious in just everything. He hates recruiting guys for just one position for the most part. T.O. Barrett's going to be able to fill in both of those guard spots. Marshall maybe can play the 4. You never know. I'm sure Dennis Gates will try to make him play a little bit of the 4, but he's also more of a 5. Allen, I mean, he's a defensive specialist from the sounds of it. So depending on what his offense can be, I mean, you could probably play him in a few different positions. Boateng, I know he's listed as a small forward. I'm sure Dennis will try to use him as a shooting guard a bit. And Quaintance, he is a guy that I remember reading somewhere. He does not want to be just locked into being just your
Yep.
typical post center. I mean, he wants to play. He wants to stretch the floor. So there's a blueprint, and Dennis follows that blueprint to a T. And I mean, how can you refute the results?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it when I was going through, I decided just out of curiosity before we hopped on to go through since 2011, when 24/7 was posting their team rankings, where Mizzou ranked every year. And while I'm trying to find Mizzou, I keep seeing, in the later 2010s, Florida State, Florida State, Florida State. This is where Dennis has been able to put the teams that he's been with in terms of the power conference. Obviously Cleveland State, a little tougher to recruit to the Vikings, though he did get some nice talent that joined him
Turn
at
them
Mizzou.
around in a hurry.
Yeah, definitely. No, can't understate his time there. But
He had an NBA player at Cleveland State.
he did. He sure did. And yeah, but I just keep seeing Florida State. Like, this is what he can do in terms of turning this program. He wasn't even the head coach at Florida State, but he saw the vision under Hamilton. He talks about him all the time in terms of his influence on Dennis. But that's another good point too, Peyton, with turning it into NBA players. Kobe Brown has got to have a factor in this. This is a 3-star guy who, in just one season and working with Dennis, was able to be turned into an NBA player. Obviously, a lot of credit has to go to Konzo Martin, who recruited him and developed him for those, first 3 seasons. But like, this is a guy who Dennis can lean on as an example. And I know that was referenced in some of these articles about these commits, especially guys like Allen and guys like Boateng, who are built kind of similarly. Brown had a little bit of unique size, but I think that's, a certainly something people should remember. He turns guys into NBA players. Even when Florida State wasn't succeeding, you had Devin Vassell, Scotty Barnes, Patrick Williams, who I know you love, Peyton. And
Yeah.
A lot of those guys turned out, some of them not so good in the NBA, but listen, it was NBA level talent. And that can't be understated here with what Dennis is doing, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you look at Kobe Brown, and I'm glad you did mention, like, Konzo gets credit for that, because Konzo did identify Kobe Brown. And Kobe Brown, don't forget, was a second-team All-SEC player under Konzo Martin. But Dennis Gates, I'm sure did help him develop his three-point shot more. I'm sure he had a hand in that. really still was able to keep him as the focal point of that offense, and it turned him into a first-round pick. I mean, Conzo Martin did help him get to an all-SEC level player. I'm not so sure he would have been a first-round pick under Conzo Martin. And I'm not trying to downgrade Conzo because I don't dislike Conzo like a lot of people do. But I think that's just the reality of it. And I'm sure Kobe Brown would credit Dennis Gates for helping him. I'm sure he'd credit Conzo Martin. I'm sure that's work he put in on his own. But those types of successes, like with Kobe Brown, like with Demoy Hodge, it's the easiest thing in the world. And at Florida State, it's the easiest thing in the world for Dennis Gates to point to and be like, look what we can make you. And I'm sure that is a big factor for a lot of these players because everybody wants to get to the NBA. And an underrated thing about it, cannot discount the work that goes in from the rest of the staff. I mean, we've obviously heard C.Y. Young, absolute monster recruiter. He's going to be a head coach probably next year. Hopefully not. Maybe Mizzou is able to keep him for another couple years, but he's probably going to be a head coach again one day. Dickie Nutt, if I'm not mistaken, I remember reading something. I could be totally wrong on this, but I do believe he was the one that kind of found in quotes, or like at least put T.O. Barrett on the radar for Mizzou.
Yeah.
And he offers kind of that like grizzled veteran experience that Gates has talked about that he leans on. And Kyle Smith-Peters, I mean, he's another fantastic recruiter coming out of the JUCO. If I'm not mistaken, he's kind of helped big time in the Annor Boateng recruiting, but it's just all around a whole staff effort. Dennis Gates has done a great job on his own, and he's also put together an incredible support system around him.
Yeah, that's an important point. He has seemed to just found to have found the perfect assistants, especially CY, and to the point of maybe Mizzou fans shouldn't get too attached to CY with him probably going to be able to take another job here in the next year or so. It might be that Peyton Kobe Brown, yeah, he took a little bit and became a Mizzou legend. So some of these guys coming in now, I don't think Mizzou fans are going to be able to get too attached to for that long, because with the way this team is trending, these guys are going to get a lot of attention. These guys are going to be able to showcase their talent, and they're probably going to be picked up by the league pretty darn fast if everything goes well for them. So, it's a credit to Dennis's recruiting. It's a credit to the kind of upgrades in talent we're now going to see imported into this Missouri team. Another thing you can't forget, if in terms of finding that balance of, yes, you have these guys, you're getting great recruits. They maybe stay for a season or two, go to the NBA if everything goes well. Dennis Gates has also been phenomenal at recruiting in the transfer portal, recruiting at the JUCO level. He brought a lot of guys from Cleveland State. He had Muhammad Giara and Sean East, the number 1 and 2 JUCO recruits in the country. He hasn't shied away from that ahead of year 2. Like, he has Kurt Lewis, who was a top, I think, 5 JUCO prospect, expected to play a big role. Like, Jesus Carolero was a mid-major transfer. Connor Vanover, Tamar Bates, kind of like a Power 5, not reject, that seems harsh, but didn't really work out. He's said that, like, he's gonna kind of blossom in Missouri system than when he was at Indiana. So, like, it's a good balance.
Caleb Grill too. Don't forget.
Yeah, good point. Another Power 5 guy that can maybe, still have something to offer. So it's a good balance he's seeming to find between recruiting these high ranked guys that, yes, could blossom and boom and go off to the league in 1 or 2 seasons, and then finding some of these gems that can come and kind of be the glue to the rest of your team. But
yeah, no, I mean, he's got it done in just pretty much all facets. I mean, I don't think I can really point at one thing and say that's probably something you can improve. I mean, the X's and O's have been great. The recruiting, I mean, we obviously can't say enough about that. The leadership, he seems like just a phenomenal leader of men. I mean, yes, there were flaws on Mizzou's team last year. It was also patched together kind of on the fly. It's hard to install your vision. In fact, it's not hard to install your vision in year 1. It's impossible to shape your team completely how you want to in year 1. And he still was he had Mizzou the highest it's ever been in the SEC, a 4 seed. He got Mizzou the deepest in the SEC tournament they ever have, and he won their first NCAA tournament
Game.
in 13 or something years.
And he is. There's 2010.
Yeah, and that was obviously it was his guys. I mean, he brought in a lot of guys from Cleveland State. I mean, the transfers are obviously guys he saw that fit his image, but it wasn't the perfect Dennis Gates system team. Yeah. And I think we're starting to see what the perfect Dennis Gates molded team is going to look like.
Definitely. And it's an exciting one. I mean, like, you know, I covered that team last year, and the vibes all around the fan base and stuff were exciting, and they're just building. I mean, this has been about as home run of a hire as you can get in just a year, slightly plus, out of AD Desiree Reed-Francois, out of Dennis Gates. I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty fruitful period of Mizzou men's basketball coming up. Yeah, Peyton, also, just I know you and I, we're big college hoops fans. Doesn't this just get you hyped to like have college basketball back? I'm so excited.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I really I love Mizzou football. Don't get me wrong. Mizzou basketball was really kind of my new love from college. Like I truly did, because I don't really care about the Bulls. They're so bad. So Mizzou basketball, I don't know, just college basketball in general, it's something different compared to football to me. I don't know what it is. I can't really explain it, but college hoops is probably the one I prefer of the two. And yeah, when your team is really good, makes it even better.
Yeah, it's just a magical sport. I love college hoops. So yeah, we're excited for college basketball to be back in general, and I know Mizzou fans are excited about Annor Boateng, about this number 1 ranking Mizzou has according to 24/7. You know, there's a lot of recruiting sites out there, but we are a 24/7 show, by the way, because of Alan True. So you know,
Right.
we know the one we reference the most. But yeah, Annor Boateng's a Tiger. Mizzou is riding high on the recruiting trail in 2024. They're getting excited for their 2023 season, see what Dennis can build on after, like we said, a tournament win in 2010. Okay, quick hits time. Kenny, what's your jersey of the weekend?
My jersey of the weekend, we're going to jump back into the college football world, specifically Mizzou. Number 29, Ennis Rakestraw. We never actually saw the jersey. We know Ennis has worn 2 his whole college career, but at the Dome, his nameplate said Ennis Rakestraw, number 29. Unfortunately, Ennis Rakestraw, you guys talked about, was injured, did not get to play in that game. We don't know if he is number 29. Probably just a mistake, but kind of a funny one.
Peyton, would you look at that? Kenny was actually able to talk about Mizzou for part of the show.
I do believe he was suited up, Ennis, and I don't think anybody noted a number change, but he just didn't play. Hopefully they get him back this weekend. Sounded like Cad was okay, as we talked about, but Ennis, they're going to need him healthy. I mean, Vandy isn't super sound, but they can put up points through the air. So
certainly. What's yours, Peyton?
My jersey of the week. Oh gosh, we're jumping right back into Mizzou hoops. It is getting closer. I am getting more hyped because that is the premier program, or it has been the last year or so. They came out with their numbers, fellas. The team posted all of the newcomers' numbers. And as you know, you are allowed to have 6 through 9 on your jersey now. And so Connor Vanover, he went with 75. Just in case he forgot his height, he put his height 7'5" on his jersey. This is chills. This jersey number absolutely rocks. Connor Vanover, cannot wait to see him sporting that one.
Shout out, I like the Shawnee's 55 too, especially for a guard. I don't know. I just think that's excuse me, a fun, kind of unique number for a small guy. But the 7'5" right Vanover is hype. What's that right there? What's that right there?
Am I mistaken, or
what's that right there?
When Caleb and Kobe were on the team together, did it say KA?
Yes,
it did. Yes.
Oh, that's going to be weird to see this year without that on Caleb Brown's jersey. It's just K Brown now.
Hey, you have J Brown, JV Brown.
I know, but that's why they have to put the letters, but we don't get to see KA Brown.
Right.
Brown.
Also,
That's true.
of note, we
Brown.
didn't talk about this. Dennis said he thinks Caleb Brown is going to be in his top 8 and that he is the most improved. That stuck out to me, and I'm curious to see if that sticks.
Yeah. That's, I mean, what did you say, Peyton? If that's possible, then he should just jump to the NBA.
Yes.
If he turns Caleb Brown into a
If
contributor.
If Dennis Gates can really mold Caleb Brown, and he did find some uses for Caleb Brown at certain points last year, but if he can make Caleb Brown like a regular contributor when we thought for sure like he was transferring out to a low major, maybe, I mean, Dennis Gates might as well just hop to the NBA, man.
Fair. My jersey of the week, I guess it's more of a hoodie of the week, if you want to call it that. I'm going to the NFL here. I'm going to Kenyon Drake, the running back, of course, formerly of the Dolphins. Now with the Ravens, he signed with them. I think he was on the team last year, right? And then was cut, and then with the Colts, I think, in training camp. And now he's back. The Ravens signed him again. And he showed up to the Ravens facility with a hoodie, a gray hoodie that said Gronkowski didn't have the angle, with a little photo of a I don't even this is exposing how bad at math I am, whatever angle that is,
an acute angle.
It's an acute angle. Thank you. Yeah. I'm dumb.
Acute is
an acute angle
90. Obtuse is
that's right. Obtuse is bigger. Yeah. He showed up with a hoodie that said that, of course, a nod to the play, the Miami Miracle, where Gronkowski was playing defense. Kenyon Drake got the final lateral and ran it into the end zone. I just thought this was kind of funny. Good nod to a funny play. And I will add, we are recording this part on Sunday night. I bet Kenyon Drake wishes he was still on the Dolphins after what they did today. 70 points in a game. That was insane. But yeah, shout out. I would buy that hoodie if he made it for sale. But that's my jersey of the week.
Keep an eye out for the fraud rankings on the Friday show next week. The Dolphins might be trying to find themselves in there. We don't know yet. Maybe they're frauds. Maybe they could have scored a little bit more points.
I could see it
this past week.
Yeah,
against
the
Broncos.
I think they put their foot off the gas.
Exactly.
I do have something in there about that.
Ken Sports Shorts. You guys know it. This is the third time we're doing it. We're going to stay in the Mizzou world as well with this question. Question of the week is, can you name the 3 Pac-12 teams Mizzou has never beaten? And these are current Pac-12 teams. So we're going to, consider Oregon, UCLA, those guys. They're still in the Pac-12. They count under this.
Not the Pac-2, because then there would not be 3 answers.
Exactly.
They had their bowl game. Shout out Wazoo.
They did. Wazoo won.
Okay. We'll start it off with Peyton. Peyton, can you name one of the 3?
I mean, I can't even think of. Did they play a Pac-12 team while we were there over those 4 years? I can't think of one. I mean, if they've played Washington State, they've probably beaten them. But what reason would Mizzou have to play Washington
really
State?
Funny. That's really funny. You went to them first because that's who I went to first.
Yeah, I mean,
I assume I'm allowed to say that. We're working together.
I can't think of a reason Mizzou would have ever played Washington State even. So I'm going to say Washington State is one of them.
Mizzou is 1-0 against Washington State.
When the hell did they play?
Can you give when they played?
Yeah, 1961. They're 1-0. 28-6.
Thanks.
What was the score?
28-6.
Oh, this is football. I was thinking basketball.
You thought it was basketball?
Oh my God!
Oh my
Peyton.
gosh!
Jesus.
These questions have all been football-based.
Kenny, he's had a long day at work.
I don't know.
We have done record this.
He's on the clock.
He's tired. He's on the clock.
All right, Jack. That's 1 X. You guys know it. You only get 3 X's.
Crap. You didn't know they played Washington State football either, Peyton, though. Don't act like you did.
Well, I don't know, because they're a bit more of a... I mean, that brings up bowl games and stuff. I would have thought maybe they played...
I think they played the Beavs. I mean, I'm thinking the Beavs or Stanford.
I feel like I can picture them playing Oregon State. I don't think I can picture them playing
Stanford.
Stanford? They have never beaten Stanford. They played Stanford once in 1971. I mean, that's right.
Oh, that's good.
You got it right. Good. You got it right.
Oh,
they lost. They've never beaten
yeah.
Stanford. So they lost.
Oh, okay.
They lost 19-0. in 1971.
I may have also botched and thought you were saying they've never played. Like it was teams they've never played. Okay, never mind.
That's better than
Okay.
my reading.
You got it right. Peyton.
Hell yeah.
Oh man, back in the '60s, I bet Mizzou pulled off a win against UCLA. I'm not gonna say them. I know Mizzou has played USC. I don't know if they've beaten USC, but I can distinctly remember something about them playing USC.
Just don't answer Colorado.
Yeah, definitely Colorado.
Don't answer
is definitely
Colorado.
not one of those.
Do you want to know the record for the Colorado one? It's
Yeah,
the
that's
only
a
one that has
rivalry.
double-digit games.
I bet,
31
yeah.
and 31-3.
Have they played all of these?
What's the next
teams, Kenny?
highest? You don't have to say the team, but what's
They-
the next highest amount of games against a Pac-12 school after that?
7. They've played they played every single team currently in the Pac-12.
Damn. I was thinking maybe Utah.
At least
'cause they
once.
joined late. Oh
Oh,
man,
Utah's a good one. Mizzou.
So if they've played everyone once, I'm gonna assume they've beaten Cal. So I'm gonna go. No, I
have a
bet
win
they
against
have beaten Oregon.
You think?
I think back in the '40s or something stupid, they
The
beat Oregon.
Webfoots?
Yeah.
When they're called the Webfoots?
So I will go ahead and say they've played but never beaten. They have beaten Arizona State. That one I'm almost certain of. I'm going to say they've played and not beaten Arizona.
Wrong.
I don't love
They've
it.
beaten
Oh,
Arizona 3 times in 3 meetings.
Wow,
They
they're
played
3-0.
in the win streak happened between 1957 and 1967. The first game, 1957, 35-13 in Columbia. 1962, 17-7 in Columbia, and then 1967, 17-3. All wins under Dan Devine.
There you go.
Actually, that's incorrect. Frank Broyles was the first coach to beat Arizona.
Wow, this is terrible.
Peyton, that's 2 X's. Jack, can you keep yourself alive? And Peyton alive.
Steve, I'm not sure. So Peyton said he knows they play USC. I think they've played Utah. We now know they've played Arizona.
Well, they have played
Really?
Utah. They've played
They've
every
played-
Pac-12 team.
Played every Pac-12 team.
Sorry, we know they've beaten. I think they've beaten Utah. Is what I meant to say. We know they've beaten Oregon.
I don't know. I feel like in the '40s they would have knocked off Oregon or something.
Do you think they've ever beaten USC? That seems like
I
an
don't
easy
know
answer.
because
that
I know for a fact, like even before Kenny said that, like
They
there's
played.
like an old cool looking like comic of Mizzou playing USC for whatever reason.
And I feel
have
like
it
if you
in-
remember that means Mizzou won that game. That's where
they
my mind
maybe, but I mean, like I can definitely it was important in some way.
What about the Huskies?
Ooh, Washington. I
You know
think
what?
that could be an answer.
I'm high on them. I just ranked them 5th in our group chats, our friend groups.
I ranked them third.
Wait,
People. I love Washington.
wait.
Uh-oh.
They've
Discrepancy.
never played Washington. For some reason, they're not on this list. They've never
Oh.
played Washington,
Hmm.
so that's the only
Okay.
team. they've
That
never
would have
played
been a
in the
good
Pac-12.
guess.
Okay, so
Like
that one would
this-
have been
Yeah,
technically right.
that's the only
Shoot.
team they've
All
never
right,
played.
well,
For some reason, they
Well,
weren't
they-
on
Wait,
here.
no, that's an
Cal.
answer. That's an answer. They've never beaten them. So there you
No,
go.
but that would be
That's
4.
one of the
That would be
answers.
4 then. So you're saying
Okay,
there's
so
4.
we'll change it
if
to
you
4.
include-
It's 4.
Oh,
Okay,
I
well,
thought
then my
maybe
turn's
they were
done.
one
Go
of
ahead,
the three.
Peyton. You're on the
Okay,
clock. You're 0 for
Washington.
2. Put us out here. I'm carrying this.
They've
for
beaten
once.
Cal. If they've played Cal, they've beaten Cal. I'm
I
very
think
certain
my
of
mind
that.
goes to SC next.
I'm thinking SC. Do you think they've beaten UCLA? Like I can't picture them playing UCLA even.
Mm-hmm.
Have they beaten Utah? They've beaten A-State. They have to.
I think they've beaten Utah. For some
Okay.
reason, I feel like they've. won
I'm
one
gonna
since-
go. The Luke
Go with one of the
Magnani-
LA schools.
I'm going with the Luke Magnani, born and bred
Friend of the
UCLA
show.
fighting Bruins.
You would be correct.
Oh, nice, Peyton.
The Tigers have never beaten UCLA in their 3
Bruins.
meetings. The largest margin of victory is 13-0 back in 1937.
Wow.
in Los
Wow.
Angeles.
That's the last time they
How did
played?
they even get to that? How did they even travel to play that?
How did they
game?
even get to that game?
How did they get there?
They went on horse and buggy out west. Took
Yeah.
them 3 months.
Cars still didn't work back then.
They braved
So
the
here's
Oregon
the-
Trail to get out there.
Yeah, 1937 was 0-13 UCLA. In 1965, it was a tie, 14-14 in Columbia. Back to LA in
So they played since
1966.
1937.
Yeah, in 1966, UCLA won 24-15.
They tied? That's awesome.
All right, one more team.
Oh, crap. It's all on me now.
God, maybe they haven't beaten Oregon.
Okay, Peyton, we got to go one by one. So we got Stanford right. You're ruling out Arizona State and Cal. We got UCLA right.
For a fact, they've beaten Arizona State.
You're ruling out Oregon State. Definitely not Colorado. We learned Arizona was wrong. We learned Washington State was wrong. They've never played Washington. That leaves Utah, Oregon, and USC.
What did we guess? Oregon State? I forgot.
I think we just kind of scratched them off. We feel like they've beaten the Beavers. I was gonna pick them or Stanford. When it was Stanford, we were right. So that makes me not want to pick Oregon State for some reason.
I can picture them playing Oregon State.
I 50-50'd them out of this. That's what I did. I used my 50-50 and I
maybe they
50-50'd them
really
out.
never haven't. Maybe they've never beaten USC, and the reason I can just think of
both
that
the
is
LA schools.
it could be. I mean,
No, I like your comic thing. There's too many other teams in here that I feel like
it's
if you
such a marquee, like, holy crap, like USC is coming to Faroe, like that would be box office.
and you think therefore you think what? You'd remember if they won?
Well, no, I mean, you would just think like that would be a comic thing. I don't think that necessarily proves that they've won or lost.
I don't know. I'm inclined to. Do you want me to go with that, or otherwise? I think I'm going to pick Oregon.
I think it might be your call. This is a tough one. This
All
last
right,
one.
well, sorry.
If it were me, I might guess SC at this point.
All right, USC.
USC is incorrect.
No!
Oh my
did
God, they
win.
really
Oh.
have beaten USC.
That's
The
cool.
Tigers beat the Trojans in 1976, 46-25 in Los Angeles.
wow, they
By a lot.
killed them.
in LA.
And the two other games that they lost to USC, 1924, 20-7 in Los Angeles. And
Again,
then
Oregon Trail to get out
Really, how did they get there?
there. Yeah.
1977, 27-10 in Columbia.
Okay,
So that
what
was a
the
home
other
and
one?
home.
What was the other one?
1976, 97. You guys
No.
danced around it.
Is it
was
Oregon State?
It was Oregon.
It was Oregon State.
No.
Oh, it was
That's
Oregon
the
State.
Beavers.
Wow.
So
So
I off the rip when I said Stanford had two of them that I were
Yeah.
my first two hunches. You guys
Mhm.
are kidding me.
You guys are saying it and ended up not
That's
getting it. But
Brutal.
so 0-2 against Oregon State are the Tigers. 1956, 19-13 Oregon State wins in Columbia against Don B. Faroe in Mizzou.
Huh?
2006 Sun Bowl, 39-38.
That's why I can think of it. Oh my God.
And they
That
lost.
was- they
Ooh,
lost.
That's bad that we didn't remember that then.
They lost
Ugh.
to Mike Riley, man.
Okay,
Correct.
I'm definitely going to clip this for the YouTube. I think just this segment, even if it's longer than the shorts that we usually do, because I want to see if Mizzou fans can get this alone. Because this is a good one.
I like
did-
an
I'm gonna
asterisk and
look
put
up-
like
I'm gonna
4
look
when I
up
say
the-
3.
Yeah, I'll put 4. Yeah. Well, but
I'm
there's
gonna
4
look
teams.
up that
Okay,
comic because I know it exists.
get at us in the comments. I've appreciated all the commenters. I know we keep track of all that stuff. So thank you to everyone who drops stuff down there. By the way, whether it's like suggestions and ways that I've been speaking incorrectly, I appreciated that. Did not notice that. So keep doing it. But yeah, good. Well, that was good. All right, best beats.
Best beats. Looking at a good slate here.
Sure.
Jack is 15-14, above 500.
Above 500.
I am 16-13, and so is Peyton. Been 16-13. He stormed back. We're tied for the lead right now. We're working together though. We want to hit these parlays. You'll hear some Bet Online ads here as well. That's where we
Yep.
get our odds from. So
Shout
Middle
out.
Tennessee +8 against Western Kentucky on Thursday. You want Middle Tennessee and you want these Blue Raiders to win games. Make Mizzou look even prettier than they are. and that's why I got it. Western Kentucky's mascot is a red
Scary.
blob. It's a red blob.
Scary.
It's a towel. It's a hilltopper.
The fighting Jamarian Sharps.
Is a
Exactly,
hilltop or just like the top of a mound? Like, is that what that implies?
It's a towel that you put on the peak of the mountain.
Is that true?
Very nice.
I mean, that's what he looks like. I don't necessarily know.
So you just made that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have totally believed you.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
that's my bet.
Pathological
we're just gonna
liar, but-
stick in the Conference USA because we're absolute psychopaths.
Yep,
I'm
sickos.
gonna take Sonny Cumbie and the La Tech Bulldogs. I'm gonna take them +1. They go on the road to UTEP. Dana Dimel, I don't think he's got it in him to knock off Sonny Cumbie's air raid. Hank Bachmeier also holding it down there at the quarterback position at LA Tech, which is, after the history
That's
we heard
wild.
about, not a great thing. But I
Oh.
do think LA Tech is an improved team this year. They're 2-3 right now, and they've played a gauntlet schedule. Of course, they lost to Mizzou 52 to whatever last year. So yeah,
I'm also sticking in the Conference USA because we are sickos. For some reason, I just, I got a feeling that Jacksonville State's going to cover against Sam Houston. Peyton was giving me some more breakdown on Sam Houston. They're apparently terrible.
they're
So,
awful.
yeah, give me the Gamecocks. I don't know, 3-1 on the year. One loss to Coastal Carolina. No problem. They had that one. Didn't they beat Georgia a couple years ago? Or Florida
What?
State? It was
No.
Florida State.
No, they beat Florida State.
Florida
during-
State.
I think that was probably a Willie Taggart year. Not gonna lie.
Hey, you know what? A win's a win. Banners fly forever. Give me the
Mhm.
Gamecocks. They're winning this one. Maybe you know what? Future CUSA champions.
You jump
wanna-
on the YouTube, no matter where you're listening, podcast wise or YouTube. If you can guess my middle name, I will go to this game. I will go to the Jacksonville State game versus Sam Houston State. It's about an hour and a half away from my house. I will go to it and vlog it. I'll get Sam Houston
Oh, he's
State
gonna
here.
vlog it.
I'll vlog
Oh,
it.
I
will
would love a
it
vlog. Wait, can I
if
give
you
them a
guys
hint
can guess
then?
my middle name. Yeah,
His
you
middle
give me
name
the
Can I
is-
give them a hint? A president has his middle name. That's a very vague hint, but I didn't want to be
That's
too
fine.
obvious.
I'll
I don't know how
give a
badly you
hint.
want it.
I'll give a
Okay.
hint. Do not say the letter it starts with. I'll give a hint.
Yeah, because that'll give it away.
It's a curious name. It's very curious. It makes you
Ooh.
think.
I think we're already getting too close.
Yeah, I
to
think they're gonna.
All right,
get
that's it.
I
That's
think
it. Yeah,
Somebody's gonna
I-
get it. Have
See if
fun
they
at that
listen this
game,
far.
Kenny.
Yeah. Okay. Dirty Birds of the weekend. Staying in the college football world. Jimbo Fisher. You might be asking, what is his connection to a bird? He was the quarterback coach at Auburn at one point. War damn eagle. That's a bird. Jimbo Fisher. You guys have seen it. I'm sure everyone that's watched college football this past weekend seen it. Jimbo Fisher was on the field when Asante was sprinting down for a 67-yard touchdown return. Here's a quote from Jimbo Fisher. I thought the play was dead. I was yelling at somebody else on the side, and then the ball's coming back my way. I said, dang, that ain't supposed to happen. I'm lucky I didn't get ran over. Wise words from Jimbo Fisher. He did his best Mike Tomlin impression. Really tried to stop the touchdown. Did not work for him. I hate you, Jacoby Jones.
I'll give him this. I do actually believe that explanation because this wasn't like the Mike Tomlin where Mike Tomlin's just like staring up at the Jumbotron
Yeah,
like Jimbo
And when-
Fisher was very obviously like, oh, I thought this play was not in motion, and he just had to stand there as they ran by. But gosh, it just feels like every other week a funny Jimbo Fisher or A&M tidbit comes out. But they got a good win
Oh,
this weekend. So
that'll be the bonus tier. We'll put a tier on that for the SEC tier list when we get to that too, because that was
Mike
hilarious.
Tomlin
My
of the
favorite, the Mike Tomlin tier. My favorite account on Twitter is No Context College Football, and they were tweeting like a million. They had a ton of tweets about this because it's one of the best no context plays ever. So yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
All right, Peyton.
my dirty bird of the week, I'm going to Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. I already believe he's like a top 5 or 6 head coach in the league. But he's a dirty bird today, and you may be wondering what's the relation to birds. First of all, dolphins can fly. Second of all, he was an Atlanta Falcons offensive assistant from 2015 to 16. So Mike McDaniel, of course. I mean, he runs just the coolest offense ever. It makes Tua look like, I don't even know, like just a machine out there. The Dolphins scored 70 points in an
They sure
NFL
did.
game.
In about 3/4 of an NFL game.
Yeah.
Like slightly more than 3/4.
Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane had 4 touchdowns each. 4 different touchdowns. That is absolutely absurd. And he opted to go against, even though they could have set the record with a field goal at the end. He opted to just take a knee, be classy about it. He said after the game he was fine with it and his team was fine with it. Sean Payton deserves it. Okay. Just put up the score on Sean Payton. I don't know what Kenny's laughing about really,
Yeah.
but
I was
You
just
care
thinking
to
about
elaborate?
I was just thinking about what movie Mike McDaniel Tua watched on the plane. That's all I can think about. Well, and this game was in Miami. I don't even know why I was thinking about this, but
They didn't take a plane anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sean Payton does deserve to get a score run up on. I agree with that.
yeah, but Mike McDaniel, I mean, his tenure, I mean, last year was just, it had some crazy lows, but he made the playoffs with them. He is proving his worth right now in Miami.
Yeah. Super Bowl. I'm sold. It's coming home to Miami.
To a Super Bowl.
Keep
Super
an eye
Tua,
out for those
lefty.
fraud
Kenny
rankings.
wants to put him on the fraud rankings. So.
Oh, yeah, you should keep an eye a little bit. They could have scored. They
Keep
could have
a
scored
little
one
bit.
more. I think I've said on the radio when we were on the KCOU, but I am a Tuanon member. I'm a fellow lefty along with Mr. Tagovailoa. So
As am I. There's 2 lefties on this podcast.
there is. So I don't Payne, are you in Tuanon? Expect
I
us.
think he's solid.
Yeah.
I'm
a proud member. I'm a fan.
Yeah, I think he's good.
Peyton,
that was
his
great.
favorite quarterback was left-handed. He went to Kentucky.
Oh.
All right, what was your dirty bird of the week? Norton?
My dirty bird of the week goes to Ryan Day, of course, the coach of Ohio State. You might be wondering how that's a connection to the dirty bird. He spent time in his coaching career with Boston College, Temple, and the Philadelphia Eagles. That is 2 Eagles and 1 owl. So let's get
Bird
that out of
up.
the way. Yeah. But Ryan Day, he's a loser. This was so dumb. So after Ohio State beat Notre Dame on Saturday, which was a terrible game, both of these teams feel so fraudulent to me. College football, note in there. But they beat Notre Dame, and then Ryan Day decided to just go on a rant in the post game and call out Lou Holtz, who is just an old man spouting off on the air. Who, like said, Ohio State has lost because they're too soft of a team. It just got in a screaming match over something an 80-year-old said. Calm down, dude. You barely deserve to win this game. For one, Notre Dame had 10 players on the field at the end of it, which it was just ridiculous. This game ended dumbly. I don't like Ryan Day. And this just made me like cringe a lot because he just got so angry for getting angry about any media member's comments like that is ridiculous. And the fact that it's just Lou Holtz, who's just old, calm down, man.
People were pointing out like this is the first time Ryan Day has like ever shown this kind of emotion, and he was using it on an 86-year-old man.
Yeah. I said
he was
82. I don't even know how he was
the
old.
old adage. The old adage of Ryan Day is that he was born on third base, and he just loves to just remind people of why it feels true.
Yeah, he's annoying.
My favorite part about Ryan Day is that the turf team sprayed his beard on for him. You can look at his face. That is the worst beard I've ever seen. You can tell that thing is not real. That man has been dyeing his facial hair for too long. Let it go gray, man. You look disgusting. Like, that is just gross.
Jeez.
Wow. Yeah, loser. No.
You guys really laid into him.
He is a loser. He did not win with any grace. He also didn't that ending of the game made me so mad. I dislike both of those teams greatly, and it was just a sicko way to end a football game. It was stupid. All of that was stupid. Anyway, rant aside, what do we got next? Best thing you learned. Peyton.
Best thing I learned this week. Miguel Cabrera is retiring after the season, and this happens every single time when a legend announces their retirement. Teams always pitch in, get them a little gift. Derek Jeter's the one I always remember in particular, and The Oakland A's, I believe this is Mark Kotze, their manager, presenting him with their gift, got him an $80 bottle of wine. While some teams like to pitch in, get something sentimental, get him real good gifts, the A's could not be bothered to spend triple digits on Miguel Cabrera. They just got him an $80 bottle of wine, a Camus Cabernet Sauvignon.
Sauvignon.
Yeah, I'm not much of a wine fella, but it's $80. So congrats, Miguel. Sorry that the A's have to cut back on their moving expenses.
Kenny, these are your Oakland A's. I mean, you want them to stay. Like, can you explain yourself?
Kenny
The
loves
only thing
Oakland.
The only thing I have an issue with is that all the players signed it, and that made the value go down. So I wouldn't even consider this $80. They graffitied it. There's only one autograph on there that matters, and that's Tony Kemp. All around good guy.
Do you
I
think
bet
he's
Tony
gonna
Kemp
look
gave him
at
something else.
when he's like 30 years in the future? He's gonna look at that and be like, "Who is Ryan Noda?" Like,
He was an all-star.
I know, but
I remember him.
like he's not gonna remember that. Who is Trevor May?
Trevor May
Did
what?
Yep. All right.
What? Did you guys see the I saw a video of a guy going through the A's stadium and trying to find a person wearing a current player's jersey, and it took him like an hour.
It took him an hour to find someone, or find someone with a jersey on.
No, find someone with a current. Just find anyone. Yeah, good question. No, find someone with a current player's jersey, because don't they not sell current like team members' jerseys or something? I thought I saw that somewhere, but maybe
I believe
not.
they do. I don't know.
Okay, maybe they.
Who
I don't
would
know
they
why they
sell?
wouldn't, but I thought I saw that they did just because they were so bad. That
Ryan
they need to make
Noda
money,
is
they just sell.
literally Matt Olson Jr., so that's probably who.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Kenny.
Best thing I learned this weekend while I was at Minute Maid for the Royals Astros games. I saw Zach Greinke and his kids fielding and shagging some fly balls during batting practice for the Royals. You know, you see this all the time. Kids, out there with their dads, they run the bases sometimes on Sundays. Yordan Alvarez, Martin Maldonado, all around good dads, good guys doing that. But Zach Greinke's kids, this is one of my favorite things. They would get the balls. They would catch a fly ball or field it. They would go and like take it. You can watch me on YouTube, and like they're gonna like fake throw it to someone in the stands, and then they find the person they want to give it to, and then they give it to them. They want to give it to a kid. All around, like that's awesome. I mean, that's
cool.
like that's baseball, and it's really cool that Zach Greinke, kind of an odd duck, but his kids are like the biggest baseball fans ever. Back in like 2021, I think they really wanted to meet Fernando Tatis Jr. and Greinke asked him if they could, and they just look like the biggest baseball fans ever. They're living the dream. And rounding out quick hits is our ratio of the week. Not necessarily a ratio anymore by the first look of it. This one is submitted by Justin T. Bear. Now sponsors ratio of the week and ratio of the weekend.
When did we make that declaration? Was that a self-declared thing?
He made
All
it.
Right. Fair enough.
He's
No,
been submitting so many.
He does carry it. That's fair.
He owns the segment. It was around 260 replies and 260 likes. That's where the ratio was sitting. But now it's at 463 likes for this Memphis final score graphic against Mizzou on Saturday. 283 replies. The way you build the ratio is that you add up all of the comments and then the likes and then the quote tweets. And this is a ratio. It's a pretty bad one for this week, but that's all we got. Peyton, do you have a joke?
I'm glad we explained the rules of ratio of the week on like our what is this 80 millionth episode. I don't know. I can find a joke real quick if you want one. Joke of the week.
Why did the pirate not see the movie?
No, that's the SpongeBob joke. You can't use that.
Why not? Hate on my joke.
This is a stupid website. Southern Living, worthless. Anyways,
I think it's Country Living.
It was Southern.
No. Southern Living is a magazine.
Oh, I was on Country Living.
Okay, guys. So I was talking to my gym instructor.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I have a gym instructor, and I was talking to him. I said, "Can you teach me to do the splits?" The gym instructor replied, "How flexible are you?" And I said, "I can't do Tuesdays."
Pretty good one.
Good
Thank
one,
you.
Peyton. All
All
right.
right. Well, this was a very well done segment. Good job,
Great
guys.
quick hits.
Let's go to the
Oh,
tier
Lord.
list.
All right, we're gonna finish it off. SEC tier list. We'll cut and close it out. Week 4 SEC tier list. All right, we're gonna finish the show. SEC tier list week number 4. Only college football note I have outside of the SEC. Colorado, they would be very high on the fraud rankings if we did fraud rankings for college. That was
100%. I
embarrassing.
expected
All right.
it to be bad. That was ridiculous.
It was pretty poor. Okay. SEC tier lists. We're starting it off normal. How we have every week because they still have not lost. Georgia tier. They're up in the Georgia tier. Who did they beat? UAB? Another
Yes.
cupcake?
Yep.
They really would just be
49-21.
playing cupcake everything. I don't know. I got a feeling they're gonna crash and burn. Something's gonna happen.
They don't look
Not like-
invincible, but they
Yeah,
are
that's
Georgia
what-
right now.
Yeah. All right. Next, I reshuffled a little bit because I made the tiers. Now that we're kind of getting into SEC play, we had a couple SEC teams play each other. I wanted to keep the tiers. We could keep them somewhat like consistent from week to week. We'll have the weekly ones thrown in there. So next, I have Elite, and the only team I have in Elite right now is LSU. Tigers scraped away a win over Arkansas. Didn't look great, but I still think I don't know, second best team in the SEC. I think it's pretty safe to say they are.
Yeah, realistically, I wouldn't have even put them in this tier, but they are probably the second best team in the SEC. They looked pretty bad for a lot of this game, but their offense kicked into gear in the second half. But as a Mizzou fan, you maybe look at that and take a little solace in it. They don't look unbeatable.
I think we'll know a lot more about LSU when they do face Alabama. And we had a listener reply to one of our latest YouTube videos about some of those games that are happening during week 6, because we talked about LSU against Mizzou, and I mean there's other games coming around in that week 6 category that can really show you which one is some of these SEC teams that are real contenders or maybe will be struggling against better teams. We'll know a little bit more as we go through the SEC, as everyone will expect.
Yeah. I think they've responded about as well as you can off of an early season loss. Like they're reminding me of what Oregon did when they lost to Georgia. I know it's a different conference, but that game was really early, and then I feel like everyone wrote Oregon off, and then they ended up having a pretty darn good season. And LSU seems like it's doing the same thing. Lost to Florida State, everyone was like, Brian Kelly's washed, get him out of here. I think we put him in some low tier. But yeah, I think they've responded pretty well. Third tier. This is going to they're undefeated. They're undefeated? Huh? This team? There's 2 teams that are in this category because they are 2 of the only 3 unbeaten teams left in the SEC, including Georgia, but we already put Georgia in tier. That is the Missouri Tigers, of course, and the Kentucky Wildcats, both 4-0. Somehow Kentucky with Devin Leary. I guess we could touch on them more so because we know about Mizzou already. Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, and Vanderbilt. What a just
Murderer's
tough start
row.
to the season. Yeah, really. So maybe a little bit more fraudy, but Devin Leary and co. off to a former future Missouri Tiger, Devin Leary, off to a good start.
And it still is just, I'm not impressed. I thought this Kentucky team was going to come in and just have a mean streak. I thought they were the runaway second or third best team in the East. And as of now, I mean, they're still undefeated. But I mean, you look at their early season slate, it's just not impressive who they've beaten or how they've beaten them. I mean, their offense didn't even really figure it out against Vandy. I mean, Devin Leary threw 2 interceptions and 1 touchdown. They had 2 pick sixes off AJ Swan in that game. So Kentucky, you'd rather be 4-0 and look bad than 2-2 and look decent in 2 of them. But I'm still not 100% there on them yet.
Yeah, and over 50% of Devin Leary's passing yards went to one guy, Berrien Brown, who looked okay in those first couple of games. 39 yards against Ball State, 51 against Eastern Kentucky, and then 19 against Akron. Really exploded against Vanderbilt. One of his longest receptions was for 55 yards. I thought we'd see a big game from Ray Davis going back to Vanderbilt, taking on his former team. Did have 78 yards on the ground, 4.6 average per carry, 2 touchdowns. Looked good. I was expecting like some big explosive plays. He doesn't probably nothing against Vanderbilt. He had a very good career there. I was just expecting like 150 yards on the ground. We're still expecting this Kentucky offense to really explode, given all these weapons they have and who they got in the transfer portal. And AJ Swan, I mean, coming into the year, Peyton and I were pretty bullish on him. We looked at him last year. We looked at Vanderbilt last year. We thought Clark Lay did a great job kind of trying to revive this program. 11 touchdowns to 7 interceptions through 4 games. Not really what you probably would have expected from him to start the year.
Yeah, they're disappointing. We'll get to them. But if you thought it was a murderer's row with Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, and Akron, Kentucky's next 4 games, all ranked opponents, home against Florida, Missouri, and Tennessee, and away at Georgia, are the next 4 games for the Cats. All of those teams are likely.
They are now.
Yeah. So they're going to find out real quick. I would assume all those teams, obviously for Missouri's sake, I hope they're still ranked by that point. But those teams are probably also going to be ranked when they play them. But yeah. So it'll get gnarly from Kentucky. But there you go. And then Mizzou 4-0 beat Memphis, got the job done. Kenny, I'll let you. Do you want a quick take in because you were away from us from the Memphis portion?
I was waiting for you guys to ask me about my take. I got to be honest. I think I watched maybe 4 complete plays this entire game. I was working the Royals game and I had it up on my screen, but I was paying attention to the game I was at, and I would go back and forth. I saw Marquise Johnson's touchdown. I saw some of the highlights. I did not get to watch the entire game.
I really wish we would have quizzed you then.
Watch it.
I really wish we would have been like, hey, do you remember the good play Brady Cook made on that 3rd and 6 to do this?
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Yeah.
I did post a graphic for the game, but that's about it. I mean, I wish I could have watched more, but I was working.
That's okay. We're a multifunctional group here. We got other responsibilities. It's just how it goes. All right, moving swiftly on then. Next tier. I'm calling this the good or fraud tier. And the teams I put in this tier, Tennessee, Florida, and Alabama. I think some of these teams, like, it's very much a scale to me and it's a scale I'm going to put, Florida in the middle of. And hear me out. I think Tennessee a little bit on the upper end. I can be a little bit more confident they're good. I mean, Joe Milton, but I'm a little bit more confident in that team. They're really good last year. Still some of those pieces. Florida firmly in the middle. We'll get to Graham Mertz, but they've, again, overcome a tough loss to a Utah team, I think, pretty well. And then Alabama, I think, are on the low end of this. They had a good win against Ole Miss, in my opinion. And again, we'll get to Ole Miss. That was a lot more Ole Miss losing this game than Alabama winning it to me. And Jalen Milroe still I'm out on him still. So that's where I have those. But I have all 3 of them in the same tier, good or fraud. Again, maybe in 3 teams we're kind of going to find out a bit more of what they're made of as this year continues.
I lean pretty heavily towards I still don't think Florida's real. I mean, they just beat Charlotte by 15. They could not punch into the end zone against Charlotte. This is a Charlotte team that is in the first year of a new head coach who has already been on record as threatening to fire some of his staff members if things are not done. They could not. And yes, Ricky Pearsall had that incredible catch, but Florida just couldn't find the end zone here. So I still lean. I don't think that's a real team. I don't think that offense is going to hold up. I still would. It's still a game I almost certainly will pick Mizzou to win. Bama restored some confidence in me, but again, Ole Miss really blew that one. I need to see more from Tennessee. I'm not going to weigh in on Tennessee yet.
The one thing I would throw out there about this Florida game is that on paper, Graham Mertz, I mean, it looked fine. 20 for 23, 259 yards. Am I missing something? Am I just, box score watching here? Was there maybe a little bit, he took another step this week, even though the scoreboard doesn't really show it, or was it just really the same old Graham Mertz and kind of got lucky?
I mean, he seemed to be nothing more than just managing the game for the most part. I mean, he had that one deep throw to Pearsall, but I mean, I still don't trust Graham Mertz to be able to help Florida not lose games. I don't think he can step up and win you a game. And I'll have to be proven otherwise that he can.
I'm retweeting Peyton. I've got the blinders on with Graham Mertz. We have the tier for him still. Okay, that's those three. Next tier, I'm calling this the had us in the first half tier, and this is where we get to Ole Miss. Of course, the losers against Alabama. I'm putting Coach Lane Kiffin in this tier because me and Peyton had a conversation during this game, and we were like, we think Ole Miss maybe could be proving themselves to be the second best team in the SEC behind Georgia. We were getting a little sold, and then the second half of this game happened.
This is a bummer. I was thinking this might be the third best team in the SEC. Like, their defense was just totally frustrating Bama. I was like, their offense ought to kick it into gear soon. Jackson Dart, I mean, he's just up and down. I can see why Lane wanted to maybe bring other options in. He brought in the backup from LSU, whose name escapes me, who's now their third string, and he brought in Spencer Sanders from Oklahoma State. Neither one could usurp him. So this does not look like the year Lane will get them back kind of into a New Year's Six. He's already been to the New Year's Six. He's already been to the New Year's Six with Ole Miss, I believe, in his first couple years, but I don't see that this year.
Yeah, so they're staying in the
By the way,
we didn't even
since we're recording this after, Mizzou is ranked, by the way, in
the
AP poll for the first time since 2019. They're ranked in the AP poll. They were 25 in the CFP poll for 1 week in 2020, I remember. But yeah, that Mizzou back in the AP poll probably should have been in last week, but they're in now.
Yeah,
I'll mention something about the Ole Miss bowl games as well. I just looked it up because I was curious. I'm going to count the Outback Bowl. I know it's not New Year's Six, but it is a good bowl. He took them to the Outback Bowl in 2021 against Indiana. A big year for the Hoosiers that year.
Yeah,
that's right.
They, if I'm not mistaken, they played in the Big Ten championship. Was that the year they played in it? They lost.
No, they didn't play in it. They were like second place behind Ohio State.
I think it was Northwestern that played.
Yeah,
it was Northwestern, Ohio State. Justin Fields looked terrible.
2020 Big 10 champs.
The following season, they played in the Sugar Bowl and lost to Baylor 21-7.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And yeah, so Mizzou's ranked. That's huge. They're undefeated and they're ranked tier, maybe. I don't know, but I don't think it's all a shock that they're ranked. I think they deserve to get in. But yeah, big time headed into the matchup against Vanderbilt, which all of us are dreading. We'll get to that on Thursday.
Boy, that ended well before.
Yeah. Next tier, I'm calling this the standby tier, and I'm going back to the what Kenny brought up in quick hits because we're putting Jimbo Fisher along with Texas A&M in this tier because Jimbo Fisher was standing by as a player in the middle of the game, literally ran right past him. And then A&M we're putting on standby along with South Carolina because I think they're just two teams. We're just like, they're not ranked.
Don't know what to make of.
Yeah, we don't know what to make of them. So we want to see more from the Aggies and the Gamecocks. Loser tier, we put Ole Miss. We talked about them. Lane, we're putting Haddis in the first half because he almost had us convinced. But Ole Miss, we're putting Auburn, which lost to, I didn't even see this.
A&M.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's jury's still out.
That was a brutal game. That's one game I actually watched all the way through before I headed out. The quarterback situation for both teams was pretty rough. Injuries galore. It was cool to see Max Johnson back slinging it for Texas A&M. He threw a touchdown pass to his brother. You don't really see that all that often. And RG3 was going crazy about it. The first two quarters of this game, it felt like Auburn against Mizzou last year when they got into that punt battle in the second half, going back and forth, and seeing RG3 back on the call really kind of made me think about it. But Auburn went to 3 different quarterbacks in this game. And I mean, the one of the big things that just really stood out to me was Max Johnson stepping up. 123 yards, 7 for 11, and 2 touchdowns. I think he looked good. He looks like a good backup. And everyone's talking pretty highly about Connor Weekman. And if he can't go this next week, if he's injured at all again this season, Max Johnson's looking like a good backup.
There you go. And then also in the losers, joining these two, maybe a little bit harshly this week because they did push a very good LSU team, in my opinion. We put Arkansas, mostly for the reason that they're 2-2, and I don't think they've looked all that good, up until this game, really. But yeah, I've got them in the losers too.
And I've mentioned before, I mean, their next 3 games are brutal. It is at A&M, or maybe A&M comes to them. They have 1 home game and 2 road games. They go on the road to Alabama this year. That one
It's
know.
versus
And that's
A&M at Ole Miss at Alabama.
Tough 3 games. If they win 2 of those games, Arkansas will be just fine. But I would lean they're more likely going 1 and 2 over that stretch.
Yeah.
If you guys had team to go ahead, Jack.
Oh, I was just going to say Sam Pittman hot seat, in my opinion.
Could be.
I was going to say, if you have one team in the SEC right now that you're kind of forgetting that's in the SEC because they haven't really done anything with the football. I mean, the one team that just comes to mind right now for me is Mississippi State. I cannot name you really anything that they've done this year. A close game against South Carolina this past week. Barely beat Arizona. Got blown out by LSU. I mean, they're just a team I'm just kind of forgetting that they're competing in the SEC.
Yeah,
they're in the dog water tier. So good segue.
There's not a lot of buzz around them right now. But after what happened, they were very suddenly thrust into finding a new head coach, and they just promoted Zach Arnett after Mike Leach passed away. It was always probably going to be a bit of a rebuilding year this year. I am shocked at how bad Will Rogers has been this year, and that Ole Miss offense in general has just not gotten out of the gates, really. They did score 30 against South Carolina. I didn't really watch that game, but yeah, they're pretty forgettable this year.
Should have never let Garrett Schrader walk. That's all I got to say.
Rank the Orangemen?
Rank the Orangemen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Kenny's cues are up. So they're in the dog water tier. And then right above, in between dog water and loser, sandwich in between, you'll find ultimate Frisbee player, which is where Graham Mertz will stay for as long as I can justify keeping him there. And then last tier, I'm going to have to get a bit close to my screen to read this. Squint. This is Vanderbilt's in this tier. I'll say the team first. It is remember the last time Mizzou was ranked and was also 5-1, but then went on the road to play Vandy and played like hot garbage? Me too. Drink. Please, please, please. For the love of God, don't let that happen again tier. We're putting Vanderbilt in there, and that kind of is a good segue to, leading into Thursday's show. At least from what Peyton and I talked about after the Memphis game, we are terrified. We have seen this situation before. Vanderbilt obviously lost this last weekend, but it just feels very scary. They're playing in a construction site. Mizzou's ranked. They're the highest they've been in years, and scary hours, I think. Trap game by all definitions.
This is the trap game to end all trap games. Memphis was a trap game, but this is the one. You go, first of all, it's your first true road game of the year. You never, ever know how you're going to respond on the road, really, for the first time every year. It doesn't matter if you're going to Bryant Denny or if you're going to Vanderbilt. It is going to be an adjustment when you go on the road. We know Drinkwitz's well-documented road game history. It's not very good. He finally bucked that just a bit last year. He got that was up until the K-State game, maybe his best win was on the road at South Carolina last year. But here's the thing. I would not be squeamish about this game at all if Mizzou was fully healthy. But they went into the Memphis game with just 3 healthy corners. The Ennis Rakestraw thing was a complete mystery. Then you lose Drayden Norwood in the middle of it. Mizzou's depth is going to be tested. And I know A.J. Swan is very turnover prone, but the defense in general has had a lot of issues this year. The missed tackling, they can't get off the field on 3rd and 4th down. It's stuff we'll dive into more on Thursday, rather. But there is a blueprint for Vanderbilt to win this game. Now, if I still had to pick right now, I'd probably pick Missouri. But it's considering what you could have on the table if you win this game, being 5-0, going back to Faroe to play LSU. It just feels like everything is at Mizzou's fingertips, and they can't let it slip.
looking back at this 2019 game, we mentioned before that both these Mizzou Tigers coming in this game were ranked. The Tigers were ranked 22nd back then. They're ranked 23rd now. Another thing that's pretty close, Vanderbilt had 1 win going into that game. They have 2 this time around. Looking like a little bit of a better team under Clark Lay a couple years later. But jokes aside, we'll get back into it this upcoming week. I'm a little bit, I know I kind of understand where you're coming from with the trap game. At the same time, I just think this Vanderbilt team is not meeting any expectations that we even thought they would have. We weren't thinking they were going to turn it around and be above 500, but they're not even close to what they should be.
Never too early to start meeting your expectations, Kenny. I don't know.
It's week 5.
Yeah, I know. It's rough. We'll see. Yeah, this is a 2-3 Vanderbilt team that just feels like a trap game. But that's the tier that they're in. It would otherwise just be the Vandy tier, but they get special treatment because they've got a big one on their schedule for at least us and the listeners and viewers of this show. So we'll see. All right, good tier list. Any other late inclusions? Any other nominations? Malik Neighbors, I might put in Georgia again. That guy's really good. Really good.
Luther Burden could be up there too.
Luther Burden could maybe go in Georgia. I might
here's
throw
a
him
fun
in there.
thing. Do you know who leads the SEC in rushing yards right now?
Oh, yeah. I do.
You asking me or are you asking?
Both of you, I guess, but Knowlton knows. So you.
Rushing yards?
Yep.
Is the answer Luther? I mean, I don't know why you're bringing up.
Why would it be Luther?
You're bringing up.
Cody Schrader leads the SEC.
Yeah, I was confused why you brought it up to me while you were talking about Luther Burden.
Because we could put him in Georgia tier.
I might put him in Georgia tier or just leads SEC in rushing. Just a picture of his lion tattoo or something. I don't know.
Truman State.
Yeah, there you go. The Truman State former. Just the word former before it. Yeah, shout out. So we'll see what Mizzou can do. But yeah, that'll do it for our show. We'll be back Thursday. Or I guess Friday. We'll talk Thursday and then we'll post on Friday for all you lovely listeners and viewers to dive into. Hope everyone enjoyed. Everyone have a fun and safe week. We'll see you Thursday previewing Mizzou versus the trap game and the trap team that is Vanderbilt. See y'all.